Hey, everybody. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. This is the Daily Bullet for September the 9th, 2021. Joining me today, good friend Mike Piwowarski. He is one of the people behind Arms Room Radio, also one of the guys behind the Rundown. Mike, thanks for joining me today, man.
Hey, Paul, great to be here, and I appreciate you planning a big news day like today. It's always great to have a great topic like we're going to get to talk about. That's extra special planning on your part.
Well, big news happened, but I don't get to choose the news, and it just so happens it's good news today, and it is always good to talk about good news. Yeah, I did a very short breaking news broadcast this morning. It was about 10 minutes. The Biden administration is withdrawing David Chipman as their nominee to lead the ATF. Your thoughts on that? Just good riddance to bad rubbish, or does it go deeper than that?
Yeah, listen, I know you said that you don't get to pick the news, but maybe you and the Second Amendment Foundation get to pick the news. That's a pretty big and important organization there. So I'm going to give you guys a little more credit than you're willing to take. Yeah, this is huge, right? This has been every day since the inauguration. This has been a huge topic for everybody in the Second Amendment community, the advocate community, knowing what David Waco Kid Chipman has done in his past, what he has promised to do in the future, the things that he would not answer about in front of Congress and on paper. This is like you said, this is a huge victory for those of us that love and respect the Constitution and the Second Amendment.
Absolutely. So, just a couple quick comments coming, because they're already coming in. Gary Stacy says, "Cheers for beers. The chipmunk lost." And John over on the Facebook side says, "Joe also promised the job to Beto O'Rourke." And yeah, he did promise Beto he could be the anti-gun czar.
Right. I think Joe envisioned that as probably as a different job as opposed to the ATF, where ATF would be head by one person, and then he would go and appoint himself an AR-14 czar. Was I think is how he wanted to do it. Like I think we've all talked about it recently. Let's see if he sends Beto to Afghanistan to try and get some of those actual real life assault weapons back,
right.
Because that's. Those are not select fire semi-autos over there. Those are actual machine guns, folks.
Yeah, Beto, get some of those M2s back, will you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I could use a spare barrel. See if you can pick one up for me while you're over there. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Let's see what we got here.
John says they're already finding a place for this Chipman without needing approval from the... So, yeah, the CNN article that I found said that they are looking to put him in a non-confirmation position somewhere in the administration.
Sure, they'll find one for him too. Just like when we made remember the drug czar years ago when they were trying to combat illegal drug flow coming into the country. It had nothing to do with the DEA. It was just the drug czar. So they'll find a spot for him. It will be toned down a little bit. He'll still get to speak his mind, but he'll be still the politician rather than the agency director that leads the enforcement of our firearms rights or the restrictions of our firearms rights. I don't, the most telling one for me, I think, Paul, was a little bit later on, and in fact, when they got into the questionnaires, the interrogatories between the senators and him, and they asked him about the possible, if he had any knowledge about the possible loss or misplacement of his personal duty firearms, and his response was, "Not that I'm aware of." What does that mean? Not that I'm aware of. You mean
right.
You mean not that you know about? Is that what you mean there, Chipman? Is that what Waco Kid, this guy? So yeah, just at that point, I think we all went from actively opposed and writing letters to hyper active opposed and hyper writing letters on this guy. I mean, I know I talked to a couple of my reps in my senator's office at least a couple of times, and why are we letting this die? Why are we letting this die? Let's get this guy out of there. So, because you know what they were waiting for, Paul. Same thing. I know what they were waiting for. They were waiting for some, crazed lunatic that passed a background check, got himself a machine gun, went and had another mass killing somewhere, and then they would push this guy through. Luckily, that has not occurred. That the law enforcement out there and whoever else involved has managed to keep end the firearms industry, because it's about damn time we start policing our own. You can't just let them pass that background check and take that gun. Sometimes you got to make that call. Wait a second, this guy's being a crackpot. This guy's in here talking trash. I can't let this guy have a firearm. So it's good to see the industry stand up for themselves.
And in at least one or two cases, I'm sure, armed citizenry has stopped before it became a big media event. Has stopped it at one or two before it became.
You're absolutely right. Event. Absolutely right. Untold numbers of shootings and mass shootings that are halted before they even get started. We have no idea. Well, listen, we know from the FedEx shooting a couple of months back that one of those gentlemen was killed while trying to get to his vehicle to get to the firearm because FedEx said no firearms allowed. Well, I guess the guy that decided to do the murdering didn't read the sign or the company policy, and how many had to die because a good guy with a gun was separated from that firearm.
Well, and back before Oregon had a lot of these crazy laws, remember back to the Clackamas Mall shooting in Portland. That one ended simply because there were no shots fired by armed citizenry. All the guy had to do was draw. The bad guy seen he was drawn on. That was it. The bad guy shot himself.
Yep, exactly right. That's what it takes. Listen, and you and I know this, and from everybody that we talk to in this industry, that of those where a good guy with a gun stops a gunfight, that the majority of them, the guns are never even fired. And of those ones where the guns never even fired, the last stat I saw was over 90% of them are never reported because, hey, bad guy fled. I got to get to dinner. I've got other plans going on. So they just go. They go about their business. So, we're doing ourselves a disservice by not reporting those. On the other hand, I understand not wanting to be hassled by law enforcement for doing the right thing and possibly ending up with a liberal police chief who decides otherwise.
George Geller says, so we'll still be paying Chipman's salary. Great. Well, only until the next Trump is elected. Barry Anderson wants to know, will this deny of Chipman cause any ripples on the ATF/AFT? They're going to go a little while longer with a temporary director. Other than that, I don't think it makes them any worse than they are now. The what we have to worry about under a Democrat administration is that they put a politician in like they would Chipman. They put a yes man in there, and he directs anti-Second Amendment policies. With it being a temporary, I think that still leaves it a little bit more secure. We don't have to worry about the temporary, going crazy anti-Second Amendment. Because remember, the head of this agency probably right now is somebody from the ATF side, but that will rotate. They'll bring somebody in from FBI, Secret Service, DEA, from one of the other agencies to be the head of this agency. That's what happened with DHS for many years as well. They would rotate through senior officials from other departments to keep things from it becoming its own little weird, rogue agency like ATF did become under Obama, we know. And even President Trump couldn't get that agency 100% reined in. He had to deal with the FBI for the most part, trying to get that nonsense to knock off. And that happened in front of all of us on TV in Congress. So I think it's best that, it's for the better. Let's say that. Yes.
If I had to weigh the two, a temporary head is going to be regarding their own career, trying to keep their own job for when that temporary position is over. So they're not going to step overboard because let's say they're temporary until the next administration comes in. They don't want to be the first one fired. So they're going to try and stay middle of the road. So whereas that's not the best answer for us, it's better than the Chipman answer.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I'll say there's not much we can do there's not much we can do. There's nothing we can do to keep Chipman. We cannot put Chipman on the unemployment line. There's going to be a job for him somewhere in the administration. And it's not going to be janitor. As much as I would love to see him cleaning toilets, he's going to be behind a desk somewhere, but it won't be in a top level decision making position.
Yeah. Listen, he might be their gun czar or something like that. I know that's what he promised to Beto, but it's been 8 months. You would have figured Beto would have had a job by now, but he could be up there writing all the Second Amendment policy that he wants, because we know where his friends are. We know where his immediate past employer is. Is there in the anti-gun every town for gun safety, crazy moms against everything, or whatever their name is this week.
This is an interesting one. An interesting name, the Men of Tupperware. Chipman was a distract the whole time to take away from the comment periods. At this point, we need to be repealing the NFA once and for all. 87 years of infringement is too long. In repealing the NFA, I'm all for that. I'm also a realist. It's not going to happen for a while. It's certainly not going to happen in the next 3 years. It's going to take a whole new Congress, whole new Senate, and certainly a different president. We've got the right Supreme Court, but everything else needs to change.
Yeah, and that Supreme Court will be there a little while. I think this is a good time to point out, listen, you and I both, Paul, we're no compromise people. And my idea of the Second Amendment is I should be able to go get myself a fully auto AK-47 out of a vending machine at the gas station. I think, that's how readily available they should be. Having said that, when we hear about this no compromise all the time, I don't want to clarify. I'm no compromise for the anti-gun freaks. They want to come take my gun. They want all of my guns right now, and their idea of compromise is, well, you know what? We'll take half now and half next year. That's how they decide to compromise. For us, on the other hand, I want everything back today, Paul, and I know that's not going to happen. So maybe compromise is even the bad term for it. But I want everything back. I am willing to take back half of it today, and then I'll take back the other half tomorrow. So whereas I'd love to see all of NFA gotten rid of, let's go in reverse order. Let's get rid of the GCA of 86, the Gun Control Act of 68, and then we roll it all the way back to NFA. Maybe we do it in steps because they took it in steps. I'd love to have it all back at once, but let's take it back in steps from them. Let's use their own plan to take back what we lost. And in the meantime, let's keep pumping constitutional carry and open carry and everything else, and get back on those local and state levels as much as we can without the compromise.
Amen. We will have one when I can park a fully operational M1A Abrams tank in my driveway and use that to drive to the airport to get to my F-15 Strike Eagle. That is when we have gotten it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and no $200 tax stamp on any of them.
Exactly. Robert says, compromise, what have they ever given up? I don't think they ever have given anything up.
No, and again, that's where I want to talk. I want to make sure we're clear on when we say compromise. Their idea of compromise is they want everything from us today, but their compromise is they're willing to take half today and the other half tomorrow. Okay? That's their idea of compromise. That's what I say no to. None whatsoever. They don't get a taste. They don't get a little bit. They don't get any compromise. On the flip side, we want 100%, but I'm willing to take back 100%, 1% at a time if I have to. I want 100. I want you to be clear on that. And if I could find a path to 100 tomorrow, I'm going to take it. But if there is no path to 100, I'll take 50 today.
Amen. I'll take 1/2 of 1%.
There you go. Exactly right.
Give me a Glock 18, okay?
There you go. Yeah.
Let's see here. Goodness, the comments are just flying now.
Well, I used one of the trigger words, so let's see how it works.
Still waiting when laws preventing me from owning F-15s and nukes are retracted.
That's NFA. Those are NFA. Can't have anything over a 50 caliber without it being subject to NFA. Yep. Otherwise, those would be theoretically items that you could purchase.
And David Gilliland's with you, bud. He says, "I'll stand with you, Mike."
Well, thank you, David.
All right.
You stand with us.
Yes. All right. And one last one, and then we'll let's see here. And David Gilliland says, whoops, I didn't get that one in there. He says, compromise will get you killed. But Robert, just as I said we were only going to do one more, we can compromise. They can leave me alone, and I won't exercise my 2A rights against them.
There you go. There you go, Robert. You got it.
All right. So
no, it's that, like I said, compromise is a trigger word, and because most people are used to hearing it on the bad side. But it's time to take the word back and take control of the meanings of all of these little slogans and phrases they try to use against us.
And one thing about the way the United States is set up works in our favor. We have 50 different states, and each state is its own little laboratory, and you can see the free states compared to the not so free states. In the free states, the crime is a lot lower, and generally the economy is a lot better. And you can see the flow of the people. People are flowing into the free states and fleeing the not-so-free states. One would think that all it would take was a little bit of observation and they'd want to free up the not-so-free states.
Which would mean, though, giving up control, because we see the free states are led by, the conservative side of the House, and the not-so-free states, where we feel like we have to have a new law every day, because God forbid if I don't have a law with my name on it that deals with kicking ducks in a park, I'll have no legacy as a Congress or as a city council member. So I have to continue to build more laws and more laws. And guess what? You end up with all the laws. And when you end up with all the laws, you end up with no personal property. You end up with high taxes. You end up with high crime. That's what you get. As opposed to hey, protect my streets and leave me alone.
Absolutely. I want to get this is just a funny one. I have to get this one in. Dana says, I stand behind Mike. He's bigger than I am.
Hey, I saw Dana not too long ago. Come on, we're not that far off.
And Dana,
I had the pleasure of seeing Dana again up at the in Detroit with Rick Ector at the Legally Armed in Detroit, teaching women to operate a firearm for the first time. So always a pleasure to see Dana and a member of the Polite Society podcast team there.
Absolutely. He's our writer and does a great job at it. Susan says, Free State, Missouri. This is why they're coming after our Second Amendment Preservation Act so hard. Saying pause off and having teeth in legislation to back it up scares the snot out of them. Are you familiar with that legislation?
I am. They're trying to take it back there. Now we know that the governor there, he's very pro-gun. We just saw that he pardoned the attorneys there from St. Louis. He just I can't remember their name off the top of my head. That's killing me. So he pardoned them. We know he's pro-gun. They had the Second Amendment Preservation Act, and they're trying to take it away. But just like the comment said there, this is their fear is that you're. Here's what it is, Paul. You're taking the whip out of the lion tamer's hand when you do this. If you take the whip out of the lion tamer's hand and you no longer can threaten. You're taking the gun away from the citizen. You have the gun in the citizen's hand. Now I've got my teeth, and you don't have anything to block me with anymore. Well, that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of what happens when tyranny is defined and the citizen has the firearm. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of losing their control over you. Well, if the people just get rowdy, we'll take their guns from them, and this prevents that from happening. This prevents them from taking ultimate control and doing things like, I don't know, we're coming door to door to make sure you have your vaccine. Do you have your vaccine papers, sir? Oh, no, we declared an emergency, and you can't have firearms right now.
I love that. I got a couple more that have come in. Get this one in. Sandhills Media. Hey, everyone listening at work. Shh.
Okay, quieter. We gotta be
Clock
quiet.
18. Come on. Full auto. All right. Men of Tupperware. Ohio's General Assembly comes back into session on the 15th. We could become the 22nd constitutional carry state. HB 227 and SB 215 are the bills people need to be hammering the state lawmakers on. Men of Tupperware, good friend of the show. Often she's on here quite a bit. Amanda Suffolk has made a prediction that Iowa will be somewhere around 30-31 in line for constitutional carry. Ohio just seems to wait forever. I sincerely hope those pass. I put the comment up in hopes that people that are watching in Ohio do pressure their lawmakers, both House and Senate members, to go ahead and push those through. But you've also got a governor that is not quite so freedom loving, shall we say?
Yeah, let's push them though. Everybody in Ohio, come on, Buckeyes. HB 227 and 215. Let's get on board. Call those state senators, those state reps, and hey, listen, call your locals. Don't forget to call your city council members and let them know as well. Those are the ones because when they start calling the state reps and the city and the state senators, those mean a bunch as well. So pressure your locals, your city and your counties, as well as your state.
Tell them you want Ohio to boldly go where 22 states or 21 states have already gone. And Sandhills Media says, I have headphones, but I should be working. Uh-huh. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? I want to go back to two comments by David Gilliland. Sure. He says, as currently stands, the laws can be changed at will. As Pelosi says, you have to pass it before you can know what's in it.
Yeah.
And right. Obamacare is a prime example. Yeah, they're not above passing a 2,000-page bill before totally reading through it.
No, absolutely right. And I think that any one of us that had a Republican or a conservative representative that voted for that should have given them an earful and perhaps paid attention in the primaries to other Republicans that were running against them. It may not have worked, but perhaps it puts a little scare into them and lets them know just because you've got it R next to your name doesn't mean we trust you. You still need to act on behalf of what your constituents and the people want, and just signing a bill because somebody threatened you or you were going to lose all the other benefits if you didn't pass it rather than read the entire bill. Shame on all of you. And I'm always been for emptying the damn swamp.
Yeah. Robert has a good comment in here. New Jersey will probably be the 23rd constitutional carry state. That would be the day hell freezes over. Robert, you're going to be if New Jersey has the choice, it would be number 50. But I'm going to say New Jersey has a real good shot come February or March next year of being the 50th, because it's in a tie with the rest of the nation shall issue state. Keep an eye out.
Which would be nice.
I really think the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case that's before the Supreme Court, it's going to be heard in November. And by the way, they're going to be releasing live audio arguments. There's going to be, it never has happened before, but they started having the live, the what is this? The arguments were with COVID. They were called in and they just were released live. Well,
yeah.
Now they're going to be in person, but they're still going to be streamed live. You won't be able to comment, but you will be able to listen to oral arguments live, and that's coming up in early November. And the decision we're expecting in the spring, and I do expect when this decision comes down that we're going to have 50 state shall issue. And I'm really hoping for our friends in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Hawaii, the lower Antilles, anywhere covered by the United States Constitution will be shall issue come March, April next year.
The scope of that case, Paul, and we talk about it frequently, on the air, off the air, is so vast. I mean, this has the potential to do exactly what you said. It could add national reciprocity. It could add national open carry. There's this case is so vast of what can happen. I can't wait. Thank goodness it's a New York City case. And I know, folks, if you don't understand this, if this had been a Suffolk County case, a county case that only borders another county in the state of New York and doesn't border anybody else, this would be a minor case. But because this is a case where this city borders other states, that means this has the ability to cross lines. How can somebody in New York legally do this, or not legally do this, but in the neighboring 2 states they can, neighboring 3 states they can? So this is where that cross-boundary thing means, as Paul just said, has the ability to become nationally applicable. So this is, again, if they look at this the right way, Paul, this is a dancing in the streets Second Amendment kind of celebration.
Yeah, this has absolutely got the ability to be as big as Heller. Yeah,
absolutely right. And listen, as far as New Jersey goes, I just hope and pray New Jersey reads the Constitution, their people, let alone constitutional carry. So if we could just get their people to read the Constitution, they're politicians. I'm not saying the citizens. So.
Oh yeah, and I know some good people in New Jersey, and I know some good former New Jersey people that have migrated to other states.
Yeah.
But none of them are politicians.
No.
Robert is saying, from your lips to God's ears. And how can you dude, you can ban anything you want if you think you can get away with it.
Sure. Listen, they have. I've got a trip plan coming up, and luckily I've done the legwork ahead of time and gotten some permits and know what I can and can't carry there. But it's the kind of place where you go where you can't buy a carpet knife, a razor blade knife, without showing ID and going and getting it from behind the lock and key counter. A razor blade knife. We just saw the big attack in New Zealand today with people killed and hurt over the knives. So what's coming next in New Zealand will be assault knife control. From now at this point on. But it's absolutely ridiculous what you have to go through in some places. Can they ban a slingshot? Sure. It rapidly expels a projectile through means of force. Somebody will define that as a firearm somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in today's society, unfortunately, all it's got to do is cause somebody concern, and
right?
It does damage. So yeah.
Right, remember, because that's when remember, Paul, when it used to be it had to, your rights ended where they infringed on somebody else's. Mm-hmm. Well, now it's evidently when you hurt somebody else's feeling, that's when you lose your rights. You hurt somebody else's feelings.
Yeah, it used to be that your right to swing your fist ended at the tip of my nose. Well, now words can be regulated because I could hurt your feelings. Right now, the only persons that regulate my words right now are my bosses, and that's because they pay my paycheck and they say, I'd really rather you don't bring up this topic, and I'm like, I love my paycheck, so your will be done. So
right.
All right, well, let's you know what, and I'm looking at the clock and we are 30 minutes, our time is done. So that you and I, man, we can shoot through 30 minutes like nobody's business.
I can't believe it's been 30 minutes. I think the clock is wrong.
My clock
I don't feel tardy.
Yeah, 30 minutes, 12 seconds, man. We blew through it. It's Thursday. The week is almost done. Everybody join me again Friday, tomorrow. Alex Uli will be joining me. We'll finish up. Last week we started with Masada Yube's 10 commandments of concealed carry. We're going to finish those up tomorrow. Join us at 5 p.m. Central Time. Alex Uli of the Uli Law Offices in Indiana will be doing that one. Join us tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. Thanks, everybody, for watching.